Hello everyone, this is Dante. Welcome back to my channel and the Beginner's Guide series. Today we're looking into how to gear a damage dealer in Raid Shadow Legends, from early game to end game and more special builds. We'll use Alice the Wanderer for this test. At the time of this recording, Alice is still a free login champion, so most players can have her. Since I have her on both my main account and my new free-to-play account, we can see in real time in both cases how we can build her and what she can do. Before we start, don't forget to take a moment to subscribe to the channel, like and share the video if you enjoyed it, and always leave comments below with your thoughts and suggestions. Starting from the very beginning, when we want to gear a damage dealer, we must first see their skills. We already have seen Alice the Wanderer skills many times before, but the basics are she does attack, she does damage based on attack, on all her skills. So the base stat we need from her is attack. We have a 2-hit or 3-hitter on the A1. We have an AoE skill, basically a skill that hits all the enemies with her A2 and also has some utility, so we need some accuracy for this. And a 1-hit or 2-hitter on her A3 that she does her best damage because she ignores defense with this skill. Ignoring the defense of the enemy is the best thing a damage dealer can have. Either we can have it on skills or through gear sets. Now that we know what we need from Alice, next thing you need to remember is the masteries. In masteries, the first one gives you 5% crit rate. So this you can always have no matter what. She has a base crit rate of 15% plus the 5, so 20. So we need to find 80% more crit rate, so we always have 100% crit rate for our damage dealers. We already explained how important this is, because to do critical damage with our hits, we need our damage dealer to have 100% critical rate. This is my free-to-play account, is less than 2 months old, so I don't have that much gear to choose from. So it is actually really hard to get a good gear set with the stats we need. When you start building your champion, you can start either with artifacts or with accessories. I prefer to start always with the artifacts. First thing I want to do, I always start with critical damage gloves, and I need critical rate as a substat. For now, we'll start the fitting room and get everything from the other champions. Here we see we have a lot of critical damage gloves with critical rate substat, which is perfect. We see that we have a savage set on it. This set is one of the most powerful damage dealing set because you ignore the defense of the enemy. And as we said, this greatly multiplies our damage. So let's start with this. Next thing we want is a chest. We need attack from our champion, of course we need critical rate, of course we need speed. We have a chest like this. Let's try it on. As you can see, I don't have so many to choose from. The account is very new, but let's see what we can do with it. Boots. Since we don't have much to choose from, we'll choose speed boots as a main stat. Let's see critical rate. We have something with critical damage, and it would be a perfect boot if we had attack. This could be something perfect because we have great speed, critical damage, attack which we need for damage, and critical rate. Let's try. Next piece. The primary on the weapon is always attack, so we can change it, but we can change the substats. Let's see, critical rate, which is the most important right now. We have something in Savage, we do have it. It has accuracy and critical rate, but we don't have another one, so we'll try this one. Now let's go to the helmet. Again, we have something with Savage because we do need 4 pieces to complete the set. We'll try to complete it first to see an example. If we don't have one, then we'll move past. Here we see we have critical rate, attack, critical damage. It's one of the best pieces we could have. If defense was speed, it would be perfect. Let's try it. Next, shield, same substats. The most we need is critical rate and speed. Critical rate we have, nothing from the rest is very useful. Now we can see that we have our champion with 400,000 attack, 167 speed, 59 critical rate, critical damage 261, much more, and some nice accuracy that we need for a hero 2. This is a great example why we don't always go for the set instead of the stats, because now when 59% of the time our allies will do much more damage, but 41% of the time she will do much less. And of course she's much slower, so she won't be very useful basically in any area of the game. First thing we can do to change this, it's see if we can have gloves with critical rate as a main stat. Here we see we have Savage critical gloves, critical rate gloves. Let's try. Now we are 174 speed, 100% and 4 critical rate, which is much better than 59 of course, and 112 critical damage. This is a much stronger build. Our Alice is stronger than before. She has the critical rate we need, some critical damage, some nice critical damage and some nice accuracy. So this build is actually much stronger than the one I have already on my Alice. And you would ask, why don't you have her in this build and you have her in the previous one, which is a bloodthirst build. And this comes down to what you need to do with your champion. I need her to do damage, but I do want her to stay alive because I don't have that much healing on my teams. This build, if for example the speed is enough for you, because you have Arbiter for example in Arena and you can make her go much faster, then you will do much more damage with this build now that we have the Savage set. That means that I will have to break the builds on other champions like Sun Wukong, LL, Lonatharil. We don't care that much for Felhound of course, and I would lose the healing that I get from the other set. But since I do need Alice to kill bosses, basically, either Demon Lord or Doom Tower or some cases in dungeons, I do need the Bloodthirst set, so to keep her alive. So I try to do the best I can with this set. When it comes to accessories, we can get critical damage only on the amulet. So if we have critical damage, we put critical damage. The next best thing is of course attack, because attack is what Alice needs to do damage. We must notice of course that we can't get any critical rate in substats on the accessories. We can get some speed only in the banner. If we're missing of course accuracy, we can get some accuracy as a main stat only on the banner and as a substat only on the amulet. The ring is always only attack and defense HP. They are the only stats, main or substats. Of course, here comes the variable sets that I have talked to before in previous videos. For example, pinpoint. Pinpoint will give you accuracy just with one piece, so one ring will give accuracy just for putting it on, no matter what. if we had, as for example, two pieces, a ring and an amulet, or a ring and a banner, we would have 20% accuracy and 10% more speed, which is very important. Another great set that gives us for our damage dealer some nice boost. Let's see if we have anything. I don't have an accessory, but I have some artifacts. The Slayer set is actually really important because with one piece, if you are lucky enough to get a ring, an amulet or a banner, it gives you 5% critical rate, which is actually, as you can see, really important and really difficult to come by. Because if you have, for example, a ring, a Slayer ring to put on, you get 5% here, 5% for masteries, 15% from the base stats. You're already on 25%, so you have more probability to get better pieces on your damage dealer. A quick view on the relics. I do have a relic on my Alice. The one I have gives critical damage. If I upgrade it later, it gives me attack and HP. The warrior has a 20% chance to deal 10% more damage when attacking. Not everyone will have this, of course, but you may have other relics. Let's see what we have. Filter, equipped. As we can see, we have many relics here. The first one, it gives us defense as a stat and in effect. This one gives us attack as a base stat, which helps with damage, and heals us. So both gives us some stat that will help our champion. This one deals 2% more damage if under any debuffs, and gives attack as a base stat. There are many relics, so whatever you have, even if it gives you some basic stats, it is always helpful. Of course, in our skills, if we have books to book our damage dealer, this 10% damage boost is very important and very strong, because it is a damage boost on the overall damage. So booking our damage dealer is actually really important. Of course, this is my free-to-play account. I have no books to book Alice. I booked Harima first because she was my first legendary that helped me progress through the game. And then I gave some books to Tyrant and some books to Lona Tharil that are in my Demon Lord team, which is one of the most important areas of the game, especially when you start the game. As for masteries, we of course need the offense tree, and for Alice we can either get defense or support. Let's see what we got here. First of all, deadly precision, critical rate 5%, always important, always needed. If for example you get a 100% critical rate with just gear, you can of course get some more attack with Blade Disciple. On the second row we have Heart of Glory, increases the damage inflicted by 5% when attacking with full HP. Grim Resolve, 5% damage when attacking with 50% HP or less. We get some critical damage, or we get more damage when attacking the enemies with shield. The most common ones are of course critical damage, and then depending on your champion and where you want to use them, you choose one of the rest. Next one I chose is Single Out, increased damage inflicted to targets with less than 40% HP by 8%. So when an enemy is near dying, we hit them much stronger so we can kill them for sure. Then I got some healing for my Alice, so she can heal herself for 5% when attacking with 50% HP or less. Then increased damage inflicted by 6% when attacking targets with higher max HP. With most times when we have a damage dealer based on attack, most other champions we have much more HP than us, so this is a must have. Cycle of Violence has a 30% chance of decreasing the cooldown of a random skill by 1 turn if the damage inflicted by a skill exceeds 30% of the target's max HP. So, if our damage dealer hits hard enough, we will have a chance to decrease the cooldown of our skills. So we can get much quicker back to the hard hitting skill, so we can cycle through them again and again. Methodical increases the damage inflicted by this champion's default skill, the basic skill, by 2% each time it is used during battle. Stacks across each round in a battle up to 10%. This is very important, especially now in the beginning, because we use allies in Demon Lord and in bosses, so she uses her A1 all the time. So this will be all the time 10% stronger. As a beginner account, War Master is very important for allies because she has a 60% chance of inflicting bonus damage when attacking. Bonus damage is equal to 10% of the target's champion's max HP or 4% of the target's max HP when attacking bosses. Bonus damage can only occur once per skill and does not count as an extra hit. This means that every time we hit with allies, we have a 60% chance to do 4% of the enemy's max HP bonus damage. This damage is always the same, but it's especially for bosses, it is very good damage. Much more than we can get with our early game gear. On our next builds with the end game account, of course we want Helm Smasher. Helm Smasher is one of the most important masteries. Has a 50% chance of ignoring 25% of the target's defense. For skills that ignore defense, this 25% is in addition to the amount ignored by the skill. So for example, we have 25% ignoring with Helm Smasher. She already ignores with her A3 20%, we are 45. If we had her in Savage build, let's see where it is, another 25%. So we are already at 70%. Ignoring 70% of the target's defense is really powerful, and we will do much more damage than we would normally do. So these are the basics for gearing our damage dealer. First advice is always we need firstly the stats and then the sets. If we don't have the stats we need, it doesn't matter the set we have. First of all, you need to ask yourself what you want to do with the champion, where do you want to use them, and then accordingly gear them. I want to use my allies for the bosses. I want her to stay alive all the time because I don't have on my teams personally much healing or a good reviver. So I use lifesteal or bloodthirst. So I can sacrifice some damage on her so I can have some more utility. And I will say again and advise you, never forget and ignore your speed, because it doesn't matter how hard a champion hits when they never take a turn. For now, I'm in Arena for example, Gold 5 in Classic Arena, Silver 2 in Live Arena, and Bronze 3 in Tag Team Arena. The account is less than 2 months old, so it doesn't actually deserve to be in such high places. But most players don't actually take into account their speed. I try to be as fast as I can. I never ignore my 10 meter booster, and don't ignore the speed on my damage dealers or on other champions. I will sacrifice some speed, I will sacrifice some accuracy or some survivability so I can take a turn. If you don't take a turn, you can't win. Simple as that. This was my free-to-play account. Early game builds, what you can do with your damage dealer. Now let's jump to my main account with some more end game gear and see what we can do with her there. Before we get into my main account, let's see on the Doom Tower. what kind of damage Alice can do. As we can see, we can one-shot floor 1. Of course it's in normal, but it's an early game account. She can not just do anything by herself. We just want to see what she can do as a damage. Pretty nice. Let's see if she can do anything in hard. We'll check the same floors again in the main account. That's why we want to check it. She did some damage, but of course it's hard. She will die instantly. 99,000. Here we are on my main account. Here we have Alice built mainly just for damage. And that's because we did a challenge for Arena on our previous video. And we needed her to just hit really hard. We didn't care that much for accuracy, for her A2 and her utility. Let's see how we got some nice damage on her. The set we used is Merciless. 6 pieces Merciless gives us a lot of attack, critical damage, chance to decrease a random skills cooldown by 1 turn, and of course 35% ignore defense. Feral 1 piece gives us accuracy, very important, and Stone Skin, it is just a nice piece we have for her that gives us HP, but of course gives us much more attack as a substat and as a main stat. That's why we used it. And we can see the whole stats: more than 7.5k attack, 254 speed, of course 100% critical rate, 344 critical damage, which is respectable, not too much of course for an end game account. And some accuracy of course. We have masteries, as we said, Helm Smasher, so we can ignore more defense for our damage dealer. So we have 35% from our set, 25% from Helm Smasher, already 60%, and 20% from her A3, so this skill ignores at least 80% defense of the enemy. Of course, we don't stop here. We have a relic on here, the Cat's Gaze, which gives us more critical damage, more attack, and ignores 10% as a basic skill of the target's defense when attacking enemies with higher max HP. And when we start upgrading it, it's plus 6%, so we ignore more 16% more defense with this relic. So in total we ignore 96% of the target's defense. So the A3 hits actually really hard. Let's give it a shot in Doom Tower like we saw before to see the difference. On normal, of course, it was very easy even on our free-to-play, so it is nothing on our main account. But let's see the difference on hard. As we can see, she can almost one-shot the waves even on hard, so the difference is massive. This is one of the ways you can build your allies, of course. It is not the only way or the best way, and it will always depend on how you want to use her. For example, for my case, in my opinion, this is not a very good build. I built her like that just for the challenge, and because it was needed just for the challenge. If I was building her for real to push arena, either live arena or classic arena or anything, my build would be much faster or in a special build. Let's see some examples what I mean by that. This is an example of a more special build. 4-piece stone skin and 4 pieces lethal. What we mean by that and why this is much stronger than just the previous build that was 6-piece Merciless. The lethal set gives us ignore defense, of course, less than Merciless, but it still gives us 25% ignore defense. But of course we have 4 pieces of stone skin that gives us a stone skin buff at the start of the round for 1 turn. This means that we get the chance to actually take a turn. We get no damage when we have stone skin on us, so we get much more chances and the opportunity to attack our enemies and win the fight. Again, the speed is very mediocre for the level we want to play. If we want to play, for example, Live Arena, Gold 4 or Platinum Arena in Classic. Accuracy is again mediocre, but we can decrease the cooldown of damage dealers, for example, not support champions that have too much resistance. But this is a very strong build, because although we do less damage overall, we do have the chance to take a turn actually because of the stone skin buff. And in endgame accounts, in Arena especially, these kind of builds are the most common nowadays. 4 pieces of stone skin, so our damage dealer can stay alive if we don't play first, and a lethal or savage set who gives us the best damage we can get. And of course, the more speed we have, the better. One more thing, don't forget that the more you farm Sun Devil and Phantom Shogun, you can ascend your gear, so you can get, for example, attack percentage for your chest plate, or accuracy if you need, speed or attack percentage on your boots, more crit damage or attack or anything on your amulet. And this is a way that on your endgame account, or the more you progress your account, to get more and more stats. Another way to build Alice, and one of my favorites, if not my favorite way to build her, is really fast. 300, at least 300 speed, as much attack, crit damage and accuracy as I can get, and if possible, get her in 6-piece Merciless, because of the ignore defense and the chance to decrease our skills cooldown. Because I want her to spam basically her A2 to decrease the cooldown of our enemy skills. And this is of course not the best way to get damage from your champion, but is a strategy to win a fight, because damage is not always the answer. Sometimes you need the stone skin to stay alive, other times you need more speed to go first, other times you need the accuracy to have some more utility. You can also drop the 6th piece Merciless and get it just to 4 piece, so you can get the 30% chance to decrease a random skill cooldown, but to lose the ignore defense. Of course you will lose a lot of damage, but you can gain, for example, much more speed. At 331 speed is actually very respectable for a damage dealer. Of course, she won't be just a damage dealer, but a utility champion as well. A real example is what I used in Siege for a Sacred Order team. I used this kind of team in Siege and in Arena. As you can see in my defense, I have a few wins. I use Lady Noel, Falmon, Sir Nicholas and Alice the Wanderer. All 3 of the champions, Falmon, Sir Nicholas and Alice, can do some damage. None of them are built in crazy damage dealing ways, but they are built to have the utility I need from them, and of course do the damage needed to kill the enemy. I have already explained in depth how this team works, in a previous video. Quickly I will say that basically Lady Noel can freeze the enemies. She can also revive every 3 turns our allies if we die. Sir Nicholas can place unkillable on the whole team and keep us alive all the time. And of course Lady Noel and Sir Nicholas work together very well. And Falmont, because he's the Unity faction champion, have a lot of utility for the team. So the enemy cannot put our skills on cooldown and keep us safe with revive on death and other utility. And of course he can do some real damage himself. But again, he's not built in Savage, for example, or Merciless, but full Stone Skin, so he can stay alive to do what he needs to do. Sir Nicholas is built in Protection set, so we can protect our unkillable buff. And Alice the Wanderer is built really fast, with good accuracy, and prioritize her A2, so she can put the enemy's skills cooldown on cooldown and keep our team safe. All 3 can do some good damage, so we can actually kill the enemy in the end. As you can see, there are many ways to build your champions. There are even more ways. Feral, for example, if you get 4 pieces on your champion, places a block debuffs buff on wearer at the start of the round for 2 turns. This may not save your champion from damage, but it can save you from debuffs from the enemy. So you can put lethal for 4 pieces lethal, 4 pieces feral. So this is always dependent on what kind of gear you have, what kind of stats you can get from your gear, or whatever. And of course what you want to do with your champion. Some notes to close with. Alice is an attack based damage dealer, so we need attack. For example, Soles does damage based on defense, so everything basically stays the same, but we need his base stats to be defense. Another one could be, for example, Harima. Again, they are not built right now, but she does damage based on defense. So we don't care about her attack, but the defense most of all. We have other champions like Toshiro, for example, that they need both attack and HP, so you can be more versatile, you can have both stats. The more you have from both, the better, of course. And another special category is enemy max HP champions, for example Odin, with his A3. He does damage based on enemy max HP. That means that his damage is based on the enemy. So we don't care about his base stats, HP, attack or defense, to do damage. That makes it much easier to make him do more damage, because all we need is 100% critical rate and the most amount of critical damage that we can get, because the basic stat that we need is dependent on the enemy. One note for the newer players, of course, that don't know much of the game. All skills that do damage have a secret multiplier on them. That means that every skill, they have a multiplier that multiplies the base stat that we need, attack on this case, with that multiplier, and then if we have critical rate 100%, then it multiplies with critical damage. You can't see that multiplier in the game, but we have the multipliers in websites like Hell Hades or Ayumi Love. So we can see here on Ayumi Love, for example, Alice the Wanderer skills. Her A1 does damage 1.7 multiplied by the attack of our champion. Her A2 4.2 attack, and her A3 5 times the attack we have. These multipliers are really important and are what makes more champions more powerful. So it is a pretty good habit to take a note and see what our champions have, because we don't have that in the game and it's not readily available. But since we are all on the internet, it's actually really easy to get them. So as you can see, there are many ways to build a champion, and it is always dependent on our account. First advice I would give is, for beginners, first you need stats, then you need the sets. The more you progress your account to mid-game, to end-game, to late-game or anything, then you start prioritizing sets, because it is your responsibility basically to farm and have more sets to build your champions better. And the higher level of arena most of the time you want to get, you need more special builds. Stone Skin is a must, Merciless is a must, Lethal is Savage. And sometimes you need really high stats to get some good results. For example, 200 speed on my early game account is really good, but 280 speed on my end game account is actually very mediocre. But of course it's a 5-year-old account, so it's not the same. But it gives you a perspective of what you can get building your account and progressing as much as you can. And of course there are many strategies. You can also use your champion really slow and do much more damage. For example, this build, you have much more attack, much more critical damage, merciless gear as we have said, and then get yourself, if you have here for example, Suzanne, where is she? That has a skill like this. Target N ally. If the target ally is not under a simplified debuff, places a 15% increased attack, increased critical rate, increased critical damage, then activates an instant turn effect on the target ally. So if you have, for example, a strat like this, you can get your damage dealer really slow, go fast with Suzanne, and make your damage dealer do amazing damage and go first, because this is your strategy. So the more you progress your account, the more ways you will have to build your champions. The more gear, the more blessings, the more options you will have. So that's it for today. Thanks everyone for watching. Please don't forget to leave comments below with more suggestions, questions about the builds, or more questions you have about raid in general, and what you want to see or have questions about. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like and share the video if you like it, and until next time, take care.